Here's another approach to the Cheerios Wheaties problem, but I don't recommend that you do this unless it makes sense to you, okay? So if we start out by just looking at the basic concepts and looking at the overall picture of what's going on here, and knowing that the Cheerios and the Wheaties, although they have different masses and different frictional forces, they are going to move together. That means that their acceleration will be exactly the same. So what if we did one free body diagram of this whole combined object of Cheerios and Wheaties together? That would look like this. Downward we would have mass of the Cheerios plus mass of the Wheaties, the total mass of the object, times gravity. Upward we would have a single normal force. To the right we would have this pushing force here, which is pushing on this combined object. And then backwards, we would have the combined friction, right? The total friction, I'll call that S sub T, total friction. The total friction is equal to the friction on the Cheerios plus the friction on the Wheaties. And if we made some equations about this, we'd get pushing force minus the total friction is going to be equal to the total mass times the acceleration of the total thing. We'd also get normal force minus the weight equals 0, but we don't even need that. From this equation right here, we can calculate the acceleration because we know the pushing force, we know the total friction because we know both of these and we can calculate the total friction, we know both masses, so we can calculate this acceleration. Easy. Now the bummer is that that's not what they asked for. They asked for the force that's happening in here. So to consider this first force, let's look at what's happening just to the Wheaties. So here's a new free body diagram just to the Wheaties. So we have mass of the Wheaties times gravity, downward. We have a normal force just on the Wheaties. And we have this pushing force going forward, okay? That's the Cheerios pushing on the Wheaties. That's what they asked us for. And we have the friction on the Wheaties. Okay, so this F sub C is the contact force, the force from the Cheerios on the Wheaties. And then if I do equations for that, I have my contact force minus the friction on the Wheaties is equal to mass of just the Wheaties times the acceleration. Well, we just finished calculating the acceleration, so we know that. We know the acceleration, we know the mass of the Wheaties, we know the friction on the Wheaties, and they're asking us to calculate the contact force, so we can do that. So if you think that's easier, do it that way.